Today we're talking about The Little Mermaid, or the live action adaptation of The Little Mermaid. And the reason that I'm talking about this on the podcast is primarily because of all of the backlash that I've seen through social media from what I can only imagine are diehard fans of the original. So apparently they've cast a non-white actress to play Ariel, and that seems to be what's stemming all of the hate on social media. People feeling as if their childhood character is not going to be the same for color purposes. The actress is not fair-skinned, and this is something that I really just don't understand. I get it if you're a fan of the original and you may or may not want them to change a character that you've grown to love. However, at the end of the day, it's a movie. It's a fictional character. It's really a story with the actors stepping into these roles. I've heard conversations about if they were to cast an actual homosexual actor to play a homosexual character, that they may be limiting the pool with which they can draw upon when casting a film. They might want someone who can bring people to the movie, like maybe a Leonardo DiCaprio, to play a homosexual man because they know he has the star power to put people in the seats. Now, this does a disservice to maybe the LGBTQ community because they might want a representative who really walks the walk and talks the talk. But at the end of the day, Hollywood and these people who are investing millions, if not hundreds of or tens of millions of dollars into these films, they want to see a return. Now, do I think that's the case in regards to remaking The Little Mermaid? Not necessarily. I think that the titles themselves have so much of a fan following that just saying that they're going to make a live action adaptation of such a successful classic film like this is enough to get people to go out to the theater. This was a movie that I was a kid when it came out. Now, I don't remember if I had seen this in theaters, but I do remember watching it as a child myself. And it's one of those films that, you know, the songs are great, the story is pretty cool, and even as a young boy, I didn't mind watching a film with a Disney princess. But what I'm hearing, at least on social media, is Disney's ruining my childhood. And I have to disagree with that. You know, your childhood, that was your movie, the original Little Mermaid. That was your movie for your childhood. But what Disney is doing now, these movies, they're not for you. You would like to think that Disney is making a movie specifically to do fan service for fans of the original, but that's not the case. They're making it for the next generation of children. And if they want to take a step to be more inclusive, if they want to take a step in a direction of being more diverse, then that's their decision as a company to do so. It's a story at the end of the day. And I was talking to one of my coworkers about this. Like, why can't Ariel be black? I mean, just because she was drawn up that way in the original, and that's not even getting into maybe the social structures of the way society was back then, whether there were racial tones or not, and why there were not many people of color playing leads in films, even cartoon adaptations of films. But it's kind of like, why can't she? It doesn't make sense. And another coworker hit me with, well, how do they know? Like, how do you even know what a mermaid looks like? And for those of you who may believe that mermaids are real, it's a fictional being. As far as we know, mermaids do not exist. So, if anything, a mermaid has the potential to be of color. I mean, there's no one to really say otherwise. And I rather like it myself. I think that having a more diverse cast of people to play these characters and to reinvent these stories for a newer generation is a positive thing. There were a lot of people who seemed to be who seemed to be upset with, and I'll go back to the conversation about Aladdin. And they seemed to be really upset with the fact that, well, Robin Williams wasn't going to be the genie. And spoiler alert, Robin Williams is dead, so he couldn't. So they cast Will Smith. Now, they probably weren't even going to cast Robin Williams to begin with, even if he was still alive. However, they went a different direction, and they did change the tone of the film. And bear in mind that the original Aladdin and even the original Little Mermaid film, they were, I want to say 90 minutes, or they're very short films, maybe even 80 minutes. And the live action version, they actually packed a lot more storyline into it. They put a lot more, I guess, minutes into the final cut. And that leaves room for maybe more storytelling. That leaves room for more jokes, more songs. But even then, it's not a carbon copy, or it's not an exact duplicate of the original. If anything, I don't even know if I would want an exact copy of the original. As an actor, you have to probably want to challenge yourself to do a project that, I don't know, it brings you some form of, like I said, challenge. But if you're just going to copy the same exact mannerisms, copy the same exact dialogue, copy the same exact songs, well, you're copying what a previous actor did. They're just hiring you to just do what they did. You have no creative input to make the character your own. Bring that character into today's era. Not leave it back in the 80s or back in the 90s or back when these characters were originally introduced, but bring them into today's day and age and usher them into a younger audience to fall in love with the way that we did it when we were kids. Aladdin was another film that I thoroughly enjoyed growing up. Even The Lion King, the fact that they're redoing that. I mean, that's kind of hard to, I want to say it's kind of hard to be upset with that one, just because, I mean, it would be as if maybe the lions were now hyenas and people would get upset saying hashtag not my Lion King, but it's just voice actors. The live action adaptations are a little bit different. I think it's a good thing. I think that people should really get off their little soapbox, because you're not kids anymore. I don't really feel like these movies are for you. They're not for us. They're for the younger generation. They're for the little 6-year-olds, the little 8-year-olds who want to see their Disney princesses, who want someone to look up to themselves. Another thing my coworker kind of hit me with was like, what would the problem be? Even if they just made her a white mermaid, just like in the original. And I think it's to really do a service to today's youth in bringing a more diverse sense of role models, in a sense. Because back when we were kids, if we even talked about like action superstars, there were not many minorities. I mean, you had a ton of Caucasian action superstars, but we didn't have very many as young boys growing up to look up to. Yeah, there were a lot of villains, but there weren't very many action superstars for us. And when you look back to little girls who are watching some of these Disney princesses, there were not many minority princesses or dolls for them to go out and get. Now there are, but back then, not many. And so the fact that they're changing this, again, is another reason to give young girls and even young boys more diverse role models to look up to, more of a selection when it comes to what kind of toys that they want to buy, and really just showing that, anybody can be one of these Disney princesses. It's not just typecast. Now, where I kind of see it going into maybe a negative direction with that is now having to give, say, everybody a shot, where it's like, well, this character was originally white, so now we've got to make him black. Or this character was originally a female, so now we got to make him a male, or vice versa. It's like when it then dilutes or fogs up the original intent of the story and the message just because they want to cast based on diversity, I think that kind of takes things in a maybe not the best direction, but with regards to just reinventing a story, bringing it into modern times, I think that this is definitely something that possibly just needs to happen. There's a lot of other things in this movie that might change. The age of the character, for one. I think Ariel was 16 in the original, and her love interest was, I want to say, older than that, which really wouldn't fly in today's day and age. One of the other kind of social justice warrior topics was the fact that she had to give up her voice just to be with a man. Maybe people need to prepare themselves for a Little Mermaid who might not opt for being with him in the end, might decide that the world is now her oyster. And though he was the deciding factor in wanting legs and wanting to be on land, he might not be the reason why she stays. There might be a whole world to explore for her now. So they can take a lot of creative liberties in giving her a stronger female voice than maybe the original Little Mermaid had. But again, they might not change it that much. It might just be exactly the same, just with an ethnically different lead character. And will the prince, or will the male love interest, is he going to be white? Is he going to be a minority? Who are they going to cast for that? Who's going to voice, Sebastian and I can't even remember the lobster's name, but is her father going to be black, or is he going to be white? I mean, are these things that we should be thinking about? Are these things that should come into question? Because what if the King Poseidon, I think that was his name, what if he's not even swole? I mean, he was yoked up in the original Little Mermaid. What if he's not even strong? Are people going to be upset with that? I don't think you can really appease every single person when it comes to a remake on a film that people have so much of a nostalgic cling to. You're never going to please the diehard fans. However, those who just love a good Disney story may very well easily accept this. But I'm curious as to what you guys think. Are you open to the idea of diversifying the Disney princess catalog? Are you like some of the folks that I've come across on social media, where it's like, just make new Disney princesses, leave the old ones alone? Or do you think it's just a story? It's just a story, and whoever steps into these roles, it doesn't matter. What matters is the story that's being told. Let me know in the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube. Be sure to leave that thumbs up and subscribe if you like these podcasts. And if you're listening to me on iTunes, feel free to leave me a 5-star and a review. That always helps. And as always, till next time, you guys, see ya.